This news, and Will Hildebrandt is here for us this morning. Morning to you, Will.
Hi, Hala.
The Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, he's going to be in France today, of course. A lot of business on the agenda.
Yeah, that's right. Think big: aviation, auto industry. Rouhani's thinking big. He said Iran is open for business, and I think he'll be seeing a lot of interest from the West, namely. Well, Rouhani has said earlier this year that he expects the Iranian economy to grow 4%. That also will see imports and exports surge 20%. While in France, a major deal with Airbus is expected to be confirmed, possibly around 114 planes. But expect news on the automotive front as well. Rouhani said that contracts with both Renault and Peugeot are in the works.
Well, from Iran to Greece now, where there were heated debates over pension reforms in the Greek parliament.
Yeah, that's right. This is a clash between the opposition and Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. Now, his pension proposal is a precondition for starting talks on debt restructuring. Tsipras says the country has no choice but to reform a system that has created chronic deficits and would collapse if left unchanged. Catherine Viette has more.
Alexis Tsipras has an ambitious goal: overhaul the country's pension system, which has a current shortfall of nearly €1 billion. It's also one of the conditions imposed by Greece's creditors before the funds of a third bailout will be released.
Without reforming pensions, the system will collapse. If we don't take measures, we will constantly need to keep taking money from the national budget in order to pay pensions, which under the current financial situation, it is impossible to do.
His proposal plugged the funding gap by increasing employee and employer contributions. In reality, some workers could end up paying as much as 20% of their income into a system that's already seen pensions cut by 30 to 50%. To protect the poor, the government wants to establish a minimum amount, €384 for everyone, provided they've worked at least 15 years. The opposition has criticized the measure, saying it will slow economic recovery by discouraging businesses from hiring.
You talked about raising the minimum wage, implementing your parallel program. You may wish to forget these promises, but the citizens have not forgotten. For one simple reason: they are living through the harsh reality that your incompetence created.
Angered over what they see as yet more austerity measures, hundreds of protesters turned up to demonstrate outside Parliament. Unions, too, have denounced the reforms and called for widespread strikes.
Well, if you move on now to other news, disappointing results coming through for the world's biggest tech company this morning.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an interesting debate if this was just a matter of time or if it really is disappointing. iPhone sales have grown slower than before. The giant sold 74.8 million units in the quarter, slightly down from the same period last year. And now Apple has announced that next quarter it expects its first revenue drop since the iPhone was launched in 2007. So is it low-hanging fruit to equate the slowdown with an economic slowdown in China? Experts say the tech giant is facing stiffer and cheaper competition.
Because the Chinese vendors have come up in the last few years with formidable designs and with price points which are almost 30-40% cheaper. So if you look at Huawei in China, it actually not a poor man's phone anymore. It's actually a pretty good, solid contender to both Samsung and iPhone. And we expect Huawei and some of the others to give that fight to Apple and Samsung.
Let's get a quick update on the markets. European indices opening at the top of the hour. The FTSE just above the flat line. Meanwhile, the other indices here in Europe, the DAX in Germany and the CAC 40 trading in the red. In Asia, still seeing a lot of volatility. The Shanghai Composite down, but Japan's Nikkei and Hong Kong trading up. Oil firms seeing a brief rally as prices were rebounding. Time now for a look at some of the day's other headlines at this hour. Toyota has retained the crown as the world's biggest automaker, edging out Volkswagen and General Motors. Last year, Toyota sold more than 10 million vehicles. Earlier, its shares and that of Suzuki spiked after reports that the two car makers were possibly discussing a partnership. Both companies have since denied the report. And could Britain's first nuclear power plant in decades be delayed? According to French newspaper Les Echos, energy giant EDF will delay its decision whether to invest in Hinkley Power Station over funding difficulties. The article says the decision, which was expected to be a formality, will be made at the earliest on February 16th when EDF releases its annual results.
Got time for one last story now, Will, and it's a controversial one, this. My Little Pony, tell us more.
Yeah, well, the company that makes My Little Pony is Hasbro, and it's being sued for $150,000 for not securing the proper license to use its font. Now, Hala, I don't know if you have a favorite, if it's Rainbow Dash or who, but I chose Rainbow Dash because she
She's got
apparently...
nicer hair.
Well, she's always ready for an adventure with her pony friends. And now what you can see is the font at the top of the screen there. That's the one in question. It's a Minnesota company, Font Brothers, is suing them because they say that Hasbro, the maker of My Little Pony, failed to secure the proper license to use that font.
Golly.
Yeah.
They'll fight over anything in the business world,
They
won't
will.
they? Stock shares and now toys. Well, toys back in the prime, guys.